I will praise with all my heart in endless ways. I will praise, I will praise.
But let us continue. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of Adam, set your face towards Jerusalem, and drop word against the set apart places, and prophesy against the land of Yasharal. And you shall say to the land of Yasharal, Thus said Yahuwah, See, I am against you, and I shall draw my sword out of its sheath, and cut from you the righteous and the wrong. Because I shall cut off from you the righteous and the wrong, therefore my sword shall go out of its sheath against all flesh from south to north. And all flesh shall know that I, Yahuwah, have drawn my sword out of its sheath, not to turn back again. And you, O son of Adam, sigh with the breaking loins, and sigh with bitterness before their eyes. And it shall be, when they say to you, Why are you sighing? That you shall say, Because of the report that is coming. And every heart shall melt, and all hands shall go limp. Thank you, Kaylee, for that. And every spirit become faint, and all knees be weak as water. See, it is coming, and it shall be, declares the Master Yahuwah. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying, Son of Adam, prophesy, you shall say, Thus said Yahuwah, say, a sword is sharpened and also polished. It is sharpened to make a slaughter. It is polished to flash like lightning. Or shall we rejoice? My son, you have despised the rod, every stick, and he has given it to be polished, to be taken by the hand. This sword is sharpened and polished, to be given into the hand of the unaliver. Cry and wail, son of Adam, for it shall be on my people, not those that aren't his people, but upon his people, on all the leaders of Yasharal. They shall be delivered to the sword together with my people. Therefore strike your thigh, for it is a trier. And what if it even despises the rod? Shall it not be? Declares the Master Yahuwah. And you, son of Adam, prophesy, and strike your hand, striking, and let the sword come down twice, 3 times, the sword for the slain. It is the sword of the slain, the great one which surrounds them. I have set the point of the sword against their gates to melt the heart, and that overthrown to be many. It is made like lightning, keen for slaughter. Sharpen yourself on the right, set yourselves on the left, wherever your edge is appointed. And I too, I shall strike my hands together and cause my wrath to rest. I, Yahuwah, have spoken. And the word of Yahuwah came to me, saying again, And you, son of Adam, appoint for yourselves 2 ways for the sword of the sovereign of Babel, or Babylon, to go, both of them coming from one land. And place a signpost, put it at the head of the way of the city. Appoint a way for the sword of the, Appoint a way for the sword to go to Rabbah of the Ammonites, and to Yehuda into the walled Jerusalem. For the sovereign of Babel shall stand at the parting of the way, at the fork of the 2 ways, to practice divination. He shall shake the arrows, he shall ask household idols, he shall look at the liver. In his right hand shall be the divination for Jerusalem, to set up battering rams, to call for murder, to lift the voice with shouting, to set battering rams against the gates, to heap up a siege mound, to build a wall. And it shall be to them as a false divination in the eyes of those who have sworn oaths to them. But he is bringing their crookedness to remembrance, so that they are taken. Therefore, thus said the Master Yahuwah, because you have made your crookedness to be remembered, in that your transgressions are uncovered, so that your sins are seen in all your deeds, because you have been remembered, you are taken by hand. And to you, O profane, wrong one, leader of Yasharal, whose day has come in the time of the crookedness of the end, thus says the Master Yahuwah, remove the turban and take off the crown. This shall not remain. Exalt the humble and humble the exalted. Overthrown, overthrown, I make it overthrown. It shall be no longer until he overcomes to whom it rightly belongs, and I shall give it. And you, son of Adam, prophesy and say, Thus said the Master Yahuwah concerning the Ammonites and concerning their reproach. And you shall say, a sword drawn for slaughter, polished to the utmost like lightning, while they see false visions for you, while they divine a lie to you, to put you on the necks of the profane ones, the wrong ones, whose day has come, in the time of the crookednesses of the end. Return it into its sheath. In the place where you were created, in the land of your origin, I shall judge you, and I shall pour out my displeasure on you, blow against you with fire on my wrath, and shall give you into the hands of the beastly men, skilled to destroy. You are to be fuel for the fire, your blood to be in the midst of the land. You are not to be remembered, for I, Yahuwah, have spoken. Now, why was all that being said? Because again, his people did not want to be obedient. They wanted to do what the nations were doing. They didn't want to keep the right rulings. They didn't want to keep the laws of Yah. They didn't want to follow his Shabbats. They didn't understand what was right and what was wrong. They've hidden their eyes from everything that was true. And this was all while they were in the wilderness with Yah. And so someone would say again, are they to keep these feasts? Yes, this is why Yah destroyed them. And he's going to do it again for those who will not adhere to his messages. This is why they had to prophesy constantly, all these prophets, because his people were stiff-necked, they were hard-hearted. They didn't want to keep the feast because they had all kinds of excuses why they wouldn't. But now let me show you in the New Testament to show you that we are to keep the feasts. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Notice what it says here. Let me put this here so I can bring this up. And it reads, it is commonly reported that there is whoring among you. This is what Shaul is saying to the assembly in Corinth. Now, mind you, Corinth is not anywhere near Jerusalem. Let's make that clear. Corinth is not anywhere near Jerusalem. Hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And such whoring as is not even named among the nations or the Gentiles, so as one having his father's wife. And you have been puffed up and did not rather mourn, so that he who has done this deed be removed from among you. For I indeed, as absent in the body but present in Ruach and spirit, have already judged the one who did this, as though I were present. In the name of our Master, Yahusha, the Messiah, when you are gathered together in my Ruach with the power of our Master, Yahusha, the Messiah, deliver such a one to Satan for destruction of the flesh, in order that his spirit be saved in the day of the Master Yahusha. Your boasting is not righteous. Do you not know a little leaven leavens the entire lump? Now notice what it says. This is why I wanted to read this part, so you understand the whole context of what the text says. Therefore, cleanse out the old leaven, so that you are a new lump, as you are unleavened. For also the Mashiach, our Pesach, our Passover, was slaughtered for us. So then, let us celebrate the festival, not with old leaven, nor with the leaven of evil and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and in truth. Why would he say this if we weren't to keep it anymore, if we weren't to keep any of the festivals? Some would say, well, the temple was still up. That is not right. Let's go back and look at something here. Let's go to Matthew. Something's not right. You can't say that, because again, we are to do what? We are to keep his laws and his commandments. And he told us exactly what we are to do. But notice here, this is in Matthew chapter 27. And you're going to be wondering, why am I reading this? But I'm going to show you. Verse 51, and see, the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two from top to bottom. And the earth was shaken, and the rocks were split. Why am I reading this? Let's read another account of this in Mark. Mark chapter 15, verse 38. And the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two from top to bottom. One more. Let's go to Luke. And let's read the account there. Luke chapter 23, verses 44 and 45. And it was now about the 6th hour, which is 12 o'clock, noon. And darkness came over all the land until the 9th hour, which would be about 3 p.m. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two. So we read in 3 different accounts that the veil of the Most High place was torn in two. Why do I bring this up? Because of what the Mashiach said. Now let's go to Yohanan in John chapter 4. What did he say to this woman at the well? Let me back up. Yahushua said to her, Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you shall neither on this mountain, meaning Mount Zion, the Temple Mount, where the temple was, nor in Jerusalem, or excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm saying that backwards. They're at the Mount of Gershom, which is where the northern tribes would be, where this is where they would go to worship, nor in Jerusalem, which is the one that I was speaking of earlier, which is Mount Zion, the Temple Mount, worship the Father. So he's saying neither at that mountain or the mountain in Jerusalem, at the temple, at the Hakal, are you going to worship the Father. Why? Because you're to worship, you worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, because deliverance or salvation is of the Yahudim, of the Jews. But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father also does seek such to worship him. Elohim is Ruach, or spirit, and those who worship him need to worship in spirit and in truth. Okay, so why do I bring that up? Because again, that veil that was ripped from top to bottom lets you know that the Ruach HaKodesh no longer dwelt over the Ark of the Agreement. Just like when they were out in the wilderness, and I was showing you through what I was reading, and I know it seemed like it was long, and you might be saying, where's his brother going with all this stuff that he was sharing with us? I wanted to make a foundation to where you understood that the children of Yasharal was in the wilderness, where there was a tabernacle amongst them, and Yah was telling them, this is how I want to be worshipped. For 40 years, and even while he was out there with them for 40 years, there were stiff-necked and people that would turn their hearts to him and would not keep the right rulings of Yah. Now here it is, we are told that no longer, because again, if it had to do with us not being able to celebrate these feast days because we don't have a tabernacle with us, aka a temple with us. And here we see that Yahushua, with his own words, are telling us that no longer shall we be worshiping him on that mountain in Jerusalem or anywhere in that area at Mount Gerizim, which is where the 10 northern tribes, the northern kingdom, went to. That you're not going to worship or seek him there either, but he is going to want us to seek him where we are at. Hear me, family. He's talking about where we are at. I don't care if you live in England. I don't care if you live here in Vegas. I don't care if you live in New York City. I don't care if you live in Auckland, New Zealand. I don't care if you live in Johannesburg, South Africa. It don't matter where you live on this earth. He is in our midst. And he wants you to worship him and worship him in spirit and in truth. Nothing has changed. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And if he says that you are to keep these high days, and it is a continual forever agreement between you and him, us and him, our Abba with his people, don't let no one tell you that you can't keep it because we're not in the land. Again, when you go back and you look at those passages where he says in the land, he was talking about where offerings were supposed to be made, where you were supposed to slay these bulls and goats, We don't have no altar. We don't have no place to slaughter these things anymore. Why? Because the Mashiach took it away. He took it away. That's why he said what he said to this woman at the well. That's why he told her, no longer is it going to be someone worshiping at this mountain or in Jerusalem. Yah is seeking us to worship him wherever we at. And that's why that veil was ripped from top to bottom, to let everyone know, no matter where you dwell, that Yah gave us a sign, a witness, to let us know, here it is. I no longer dwell in this temple made by the hands of man. I am out of here. I'm gone. You have made this place detestable. I don't want to be here with you. I am leaving. I am going to dwell in the hearts of those who want me, not those who are doing all this religious stuff. And that's exactly what that would be. Stuff. Religious stuff. Pomps and circumstances. That's what Rome does. That's what the RCC does. That's what Islam does. That's why they always have to go and make that pilgrimage over there to Mecca. Same thing with the Buddhists. Nothing new under the sun. And so Yah is wanting us to perform what we understand to observe these days. He didn't give us these high days for us just to read about it as some historical observance. If any of you are trying to go and purchase a lamb that's a year-old male with no spot or blemish, you are out of line. You don't do that. Why? Because Yahushua has already fulfilled that. To even try to do that is wrong. Now, do you want to eat a piece of lamb on Passover? That's your prerogative. Go ahead. But don't do it as if it was something that was stated by Yah that he told you to do. You can't do that. What you do is you do exactly what the Messiah said. What did he say? He says, you are to take this cup and you are to take this food or this bread called matzah, and you are to break it. Remember me every time you do this. Some people call it communion. We don't call it that. That's something that was given to us by the Catholics, and the Protestants have picked it up and continued on with that word, communion. No, we do it as a remembrance on Pesach, to take that matzah cracker and break it, and to evaluate yourself as you put it in your mouth of what he has done on that tree for you. And you take the cup of wine, give thanks to it, to Yahuwah, and you take it in, and you examine yourself again, what he has done for you on that tree by the shedding of his blood. He says, do this in remembrance of me. Again, that is of the Pesach.